I'm obsessed with this case, and not just because of the notoriety of what he allegedly did, but the lawyering that is going on in all three cases. Now, the PA case is kind of on hold. Thomas Dickey filed the first motion to suppress. So it's not just the notoriety of this case that has me addicted to it. It is the fact that the lawyering going on behind the scenes is just so groundbreaking. And as someone who's worked in the legal field for 30 years, we don't see this all the time. And the other thing I want to say is, just because we've seen Karen Reed, we've seen Aaron Spencer, we've seen Luigi, right? You have to remember that for these cases to be so big and they've got all the legal team and the legal backing, there are hundreds of people who are just charged the same way, who's had their constitutional rights violated, who do not have legal counsel or legal counsel powerful enough to put something like this together. So the more we can see this, the more that we can put this out there, that this is what's possible, the more that we can say constitutional rights are not negotiable, the more that everybody knows what their rights are and how the legal system is supposed to work. You're welcome, beautiful chosen. I'll say I would agree, El Danny. Look, as I told you guys before, and this was more with the Idaho 4 case when we were talking about why BK would plead guilty to something he potentially did not do. And I'm going to go on record and tell you guys again, in case you're the first one, this is the first time you've seen me. I haven't even introduced myself. But anyway, I don't think that BK is completely not guilty. I think he was involved, but I also think that he didn't do it himself. And a lot of people would argue with me, well, why would he plead guilty? Why would he do that? There are thousands of people who do that in this country every day. They plead guilty to something they didn't do because they don't have the money to fight it. They have the cards stacked against them, which BK, the week before he pled guilty, he had a bunch of motions not go his way. And so all of the defense work that his attorney was going to put on for him was basically knocked down to nothing. And he was using a public defender. For him to have expert witnesses, the state would have to pay for it. He would have to petition the court, the same court that just knocked down all of his pretrial motions. So there's a lot of moving parts that go into it. But think about it, and I get a lot of shit from this when I do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Think about, I am on early, Kim. I'm researching Luigi, so I just figured I'd go live while I was researching and talk to you guys about it. I did. No, it's not made, Deba. We're going to talk about that as well. We'll talk about Karen Reed. Take a guilty plea, serve less time. Right, El Denny. So let me break it down like this, and I'm not equating DUI to murder. Everybody always accuses me of that, but I just want to make it simple. Like, if you are charged with DUI and the state comes to you and says, we can go to trial on your DUI. You're going to have to pay your attorney probably about $10,000 to go to trial on DUI. You have the potential to be found guilty. They're going to have a stiffer jail sentence. You may actually have to go to jail for a DUI if you go to trial. But if you plead guilty to careless or reckless driving, we'll give you 3 months of probation, 3 months of license suspension, and you have to go to DUI school. What are you going to do? Right? So even if the facts are you weren't drinking that night, you weren't impaired at all, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, you reached for something in your car and you drove over the fog line and that gave them probable cause to pull you over, and then you refused, breathalyzer, you refused doing all the tests on the side of the road, and you get to the point where you can pay an attorney $10,000 and still not know if you're going to jail or if you're going to have fines or if you're going to lose your license, or you can plead guilty to reckless driving, potentially take a hit on your insurance, most likely take a hit on your insurance, but know that you don't have to go to jail. You only have to have a license suspension for 3 months and pay the fines out. What are you going to do? Right? So again, I know that simplifies things down from a murder charge. Sue, thank you for that follow. But I just want you guys to understand, every day in this country, people plead guilty to things they don't do. And the reasons are really unfair. They're monetary usually in nature because they don't have the money to fight it. And if you are the reading type, I say this every now and then, if you are, it does, El Danny, and again, depending on, El Danny, hold on to that for just a second. So if you are the reading type, I've said this before, and you like to read nonfiction, the book for you is The Rich Get Richer and the Poor Get Prison. And I highly recommend it. Read it when I did my bachelor's degree, and I don't want to tell you, well, you guys know how long I've been that was over 30 years ago. Still important reading today, of how the rich can, I don't want to say manipulate. Vonnie, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That is surreal. But I appreciate the gift, my friend. But it'll tell you how if you have money, you can manipulate your way. I don't want to use that word, but that's what's coming to mind. Remember, I'm on vacation brain too, right? I'm still kind of jet lagged and stuff. But the rich, if you have the money to pay for your defense, you can pretty much negotiate your way out of anything. But if you're using a public defender, and I'm not bashing public defenders, my first job was an intern in the PD's office, so I know what goes on in there. Public defenders are overworked, underpaid. They have hundreds of cases on their desk at any given time. They have a handshake agreement with the DA's office to work out deals in their cases so that they move them along. But they sometimes forget, in my opinion, they sometimes forget that behind all those files is an actual person. And to what Danny was saying, Joe Bear, thank you for that follow. What she was saying with, it looks better as a reckless driving conviction versus a DUI. That depends, right? When you're 21, 22 years old and you don't know what your future holds, if you plead guilty to reckless driving instead of DUI, you might think that you escaped that DUI charge, right? But then you move down your career path and all of a sudden you need a commercial driver's license. And they're like, well, you have this reckless driving charge. And you're like, well, I had to have that. Like, that was a plea. It doesn't matter. It's now a conviction. So that is what, long story short, that is what I wish that people would bring out of these public trials. And I know these are murder trials. These are big trials with Karen Reed. Aaron Spencer's murder 2 trial down in Arkansas. But I want you guys to really understand, like, if you are ever in, and God forbid any of us are ever in that defense chair because we were in the wrong place at the wrong time, please be careful what comes out of that courtroom with you, because you might think, thank God, I just sidestepped a felony down to a misdemeanor, but you don't know how it's going to affect you in the future. And we're talking, like, I hate to say it like this, domestics too, right? If you have a DV charge and they're going to, like, basically bring you down to a simple assault, that's still a crime of violence. And that's still going to haunt you, especially if you try to coach, if you try to have any type of clearances with children or things like that, and you've got DV on your record, that's kind of important. And that is the kind of stuff that hopefully through me and all of the Circle of Trust and other creators on here, hopefully, like, we're just raising your awareness just a little more. Kevin, I see you sneaking in here. And more importantly, Rapster, I see you. I hope you had a great holiday. Aaron Spencer was just doing Lord's work. Danny, Aaron Spencer was doing what any good parent would do. I will stand with Aaron Spencer 100%. And if you guys are Aaron Spencer aficionado, shall we say, thank goodness I've beat every case that came my way. Jeremiah, that is very good. That is a very good thing. Yeah. If you guys, Soulful Girl, thank you for that follow. If you guys are following the Aaron Spencer case and you know that he is running for sheriff against the incumbent right now, in my link tree, I think it's the very first link, it'll take you to a Printify shop where I made a t-shirt that has a quote from his attorneys in the last filing, one of the last filings, because there's stuff on Aaron Spencer we got to get caught up on too. I know, I can't go out of town. I can't go out of town anymore. I can't travel anymore because when I leave, everything explodes. But if you buy that t-shirt, they're $20 a piece. $10 of it, which is all the profit, goes to Aaron Spencer for sheriff. So just something to give you an idea to maybe do that. Canal, nice to see. I would too, Danny. I want to kind of get an apartment in Lonoke County. Kevin, thank you so much. I don't know what that thing is, but that's fun. That's fun. Okay, somebody, before we get into Luigi, somebody brought up the Karen Reed case. Let me tell you a little bit about jurisdictional shopping. And I know that sounds really weird, but you guys know, let me just say this because I'm so discombobulated this morning. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you haven't been here before, hello. My name is Tats. I'm a full-time paralegal, a 24/7 crime junkie. I've been in the legal world for over 30 years, including 10 years with a criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. That was my first job out of my bachelor's degree. I am not, nor will I ever be an attorney. I hold a bachelor's degree in criminology and a master's degree in legal studies. I teach law at the university level, but I cannot give you legal advice. So anything I say today in my lives, in my content, in my comments is my opinion and my opinion only. If you need legal advice, please seek out the services of an attorney in your area. Good morning, Angie. It's nice to see you. Okay. So with Karen Reed, here's what I want to tell you guys. I did see that this morning, that the defendants are moving for the for the case to go against the House defendants. That's what we're calling the McAlberts and Higgins right now. They're moving that into federal court. Let me explain that a little bit, because even though my first job was 10 years with a criminal defense attorney, hey, Mary, nice to see you again. What I do now, hey, Holly Jolly's here, so it is a party. Holly Jolly, I'm still jet lagged, so the partying is a little bit on the minimum today. But what jurisdictional shopping? Okay, so what I do now is civil defense work. So I started with criminal defense. I now do civil defense. Excuse me. In between there, I did plaintiff's medical malpractice and plaintiff's complex personal injury. So I've kind of been on both sides of everything. I've just never been on the prosecution side. So do with that what you may. But so jurisdictional shopping in a civil case, which is kind of what happens, is what's happening with Karen Reed's case right now. If you are a defendant in a case and someone files in your county court, if there is a possibility of removing it to federal court, your attorney will. And let me tell you why. Because counties in different states notoriously are different in their jury verdicts. So I'm in Pennsylvania, so let me give you a little bit of an example. If you go north in Pennsylvania to the more rural districts, right, those jury verdicts tend to be on the lower end. If you go to Philadelphia, which is the plaintiff, like, utopia, if you're a plaintiff in a case in Pennsylvania and you can get that filed in Philadelphia County, that's where you're going to file it. And that's as a plaintiff. So that as a plaintiff, you have the right to file in the court where the alleged tort happened, in the court where one of the parties resides, or in a court where one of the parties regularly does business. So let me give you the example. In Pennsylvania, one of the big grocery shopping chains is Giant. Giant probably has a store, most likely, in Philadelphia County. So because they regularly do business in Philadelphia County, if you slip and fall in Cambria County, Pennsylvania, which is in the western part of the state, you can technically file in Philadelphia County. Now, no cameras tomorrow. That's right. Hey, Gigi, nice to see you. So thank you, Dolly Holly, for that FYP tag. So what that means is plaintiffs can shop around to where they think they're going to get the biggest jury verdicts. Sorry, my cat's making noises. But as defense counsel, so people that I work for now, if there's a possibility that we can move it to federal court, how can we move it to federal court? Well, if there is a difference of jurisdiction between the parties, meaning the parties live in two different states, they live in two different jurisdictions, they live in two different, basically two different courts that could happen, then we can move it into federal court. A lot of times there is a handshake agreement between the parties, like, hey, I'm removing this to federal court. Do you agree or disagree? And they just agree because they know it's going to get moved anyway. In this case, I don't see any of that kind of handshake stuff happening. Hey, Rachel, nice to see you. So we'll have to see what happens. I would be surprised, since they moved for it to be moved into federal court, I would be surprised if it didn't. What that will mean for Karen Reed is that consolidation with her lawsuit where John's family is suing her is probably not going to happen. Jimmers, thank you for those shares. So today hold on, I clicked on the wrong thing. The reason I jumped on early here is because I was reviewing Luigi Mangione's stuff for tomorrow. I'm playing that Karen Reed's case stays in Bristol County. I feel like it's less corrupt. Danny, I will say this here's the reason why the defendants love federal court. It is faster. It is much more managed. It is. Thank you, Jolly Holly. I appreciate that. Um, it is a very definitive discovery track, and the cases don't tend to languish. And what I mean by that is county courts and state courts, they tend to be more backed up than the federal courts. So when you get into federal court, there are routine case management hearings where you go before the judge and you say, here's where we are, here's where we need to be, here's where we're going to set a date for trial. And if that is not moving forward, you've got to have good cause. Like in federal court, even if you agree to it, the judge still has the deciding factor, right? So that's why civil defendants like to move it into federal court, because it moves it along. It doesn't languish, doesn't cost their clients that much or as much in attorney's fees, right? And there's also some mandatory settlement stuff in federal court that usually takes care of the cases. In this case, I'm not sure it's going to happen, but that is why. Also, be careful what you wish for. That's right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay. So that is Karen Reed, and we will get to that definitely in more depth. Same with Aaron Spencer. There is some disgusting filings from the state in Aaron Spencer that I have content coming out for you guys. I don't like Karen Reed anymore. She turned into that one person. I'm going to disagree with you, Deb, because I've never been a Turtle Boy fan. And I don't talk about Turtle Boy on here all that much because I'm not a Turtle Boy fan. Yes, he did bust open her case, and for that I am grateful. Hey, Cherry, it's nice to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great holiday. I will agree that he did bring the Karen Reed case out, but I also am not a fan, and I'm just going to leave it at that. How's that? Is that fair? I'm not a fan of Turtle Boy. So on that subject, the last thing that I will say is make sure you get both sides of the story. Okay? TB is so messy. I totally agree with that statement, Jolly Holly. You got me there. All right, but let's move over to Luigi. And I'm going to be on for like an hour. I don't even know how long I've been on. I've been on for like 22 minutes. I'm going to be on for an hour. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to make some more content. I have to get the laundry done. I have some business stuff that I got to attend to, and then I'm going to come on again. So if you have, thank you, Cherry. I did. I hope you did too. Thank you, Cherry. Appreciate those glasses. That makes me look like a skier, which I am actually not. That's why I didn't mention his name. Okay, Deb. That's fair. Yeah, I'm not a Turtle Boy fan, but it's okay if you are. You guys know that we can agree to disagree in here. There's just something about him. When my gut says it's off, it's off. So, what time later? I don't, Rachel, I wish I could. I'll tell you what, I will put it in my thought bubble. How's that? I'm guessing before 7:00 Eastern time, because I do have to get 2 hours in today for my agency requirements. As a manager, it looks really bad if I don't meet my agency requirements. But I'll put it in my thought bubble. But there's like a ton of stuff I got to get like done around the house. And then it's also end of the month. So I've got end of the month stuff to do with my full-time job. Hey, Kay, nice to see you. So I'm not trying to push you guys off, but I just figured while I was doing my research, we would just talk it through. So back to Luigi Mangione, who is in New York State Court tomorrow on those motions to suppress. So if you remember, Pick Vicky, thank you for that follow. Totally get it. We can appreciate his work on. Yeah, absolutely, Jolly Holly, 100%. What Jolly Holly just said. We can appreciate his work, but still not appreciate the man, if that makes any sense. And I don't want to come on here and disparage anybody. You're allowed to like whoever you want to like. You're allowed to not like whoever you want to like. But some of his comments and some of his actions, I'm not in total agreement with. I think if you're going to do something good for somebody, you just do it out of the goodness of your heart. If you expect something in return, then you're not really doing it for the right reasons. I'm not going to get on a step stool or anything like that, because I am not one to throw. I have my own glass house, right? I'm not throwing any kind of rocks. But yeah, I totally agree with what she just said. Thank you, Rachel, for those gifts. Thank you guys for all those gifts. I know that you threw a lot while I was talking, and I appreciate every single one of them. The Lion's Den, thank you for that follow. Okay, so back to Luigi. All right. So tomorrow in New York State case. So remember, Luigi has 3 cases. Pennsylvania, where he was arrested. That case is on hold. They filed a motion to suppress. Luigi would not waive his right to appear in person, and the Fed said, we're not bringing you over there. So the judge has dismissed that motion to suppress solely on the fact that Luigi was not able to attend and would not waive his personal appearance. And that is when KA said, fine, if you don't want to do it in Pennsylvania, then we'll bring it over here. And she filed in the federal case and in the state case motions to suppress the evidence that was seized in Altoona when he was arrested, his statements. And there's also a motion in there to throw out the actual arrest. So, hey, LG&Me, nice to see you. So this is a big week for him. Like, this is kind of make it or break it. The whole thing that happens on these motions is it's gonna set the trajectory for the rest of this case. So if even some of this gets thrown out, does his case go away? Absolutely not. Because remember, this is evidence coming from his arrest. Before he was arrested, they had evidence in New York. They have a ton of surveillance video, which none of us have seen. We've seen stills from it, but we haven't seen the videos, which I keep telling you guys, I'm not going to make up my mind on his guilt till I actually see those videos. They have the alleged backpack from Central Park that they found. They have the hostel photos. They have his ID that was used at the hostel, which allegedly matches the ID that he gave Altoona Police Department, which is why the suppression of that ID is a huge deal, right? Because they are connecting dots and his attorneys are trying to sever those connections. Does that make sense? Then we've got the backpack that was found on him in McDonald's that had the alleged murder weapon in it, the alleged manifesto, a bunch of notes, as well as his train ticket and, computer chips, a bunch of USB ports, jump drives, things like that. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jimmers. Appreciate you sharing this out. Jimmers is like the MVP in here, I swear. Not that I don't love all of you guys, but he's definitely the MVP in here. All right, so I'm researching this. So there's a MAP hearing tomorrow. So the MAP hearing, that covers whether or not the search was in accordance with the Constitution. Okay, so we're looking at, stop it. That's how I say it. Stop. Just in here reflecting me, Jimmers. So that MAP hearing is going to address the search that happened, incident to arrest. So in Pennsylvania, there is a search incident to arrest. And what that means is when you're arrested, the officers have the right without a warrant to search around you. Jimmers is a huge deal. That's why I appreciate that he's in here. Authors Publishing, hello. Thank you for that follow. It's nice to see you. Welcome in. So, yes, Starbucks. That's right. Let me put my plug in. Starbucks, I drink your drink every time I'm on live. Please come sponsor me. Or at least just pay for my drinks because this addiction is real. Real quick, you guys know that I went somewhere for Thanksgiving, right? On a last minute trip. And where I went, there was no Starbucks. I had no Starbucks for the last 2 days. You guys, I came home last night at 9 o'clock. There was a Starbucks in the fridge. I've never drank that Starbucks so fast in my life. And it made me realize, like, okay, Tats, you may really have a problem here. So let's step out. I am okay. I am okay, yes. So let's step up trying to get them to sponsor me because I think it's a real thing. I think the addiction is real, y'all. Okay, so back to the MAP hearing. In Pennsylvania, there's a search incident to arrest. And what that means is that when you are arrested, the police can search around you in your area. Anything that you would have like arm's reach, right, access to, it's for their protection. It's for them to keep you from fleeing or having any type of assistance from fleeing. And again, for their protection, right? So if you take it on a very high level, yes, there was a weapon in that backpack. And yes, they should have been able to search it if it was incident to his arrest. The problem is, and I don't have these pictures. Okay, tonight when I go live, I'm going to go live from the setup so we can share these pictures, okay? But you guys remember that picture from the body camera that was attached to one of these motions where as soon as they got there with Luigi, what they did was took his backpack and moved it over across to another table where it wasn't in his immediate reach, right? So the question before the court is, can they still use search incident to arrest when they've moved the backpack out of the way? They place him in custody and then go through it. Should they not have a warrant to go through it? Then within the backpack, you guys remember there is a box that is taped up that, you know, if they search the backpack incident to arrest, this box that is taped up technically should have a warrant for it, right? Because it's not open. They can't see what's in it. They don't know that that search is is related to what he's being arrested for. And you do have the right, the constitutional right, to be private in your papers and in your possessions, right? That's your 4th and 14th Amendment rights. And you have the right against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's what we're all getting at. So, you know, yes, he's Luigi Mangione, but that morning, before they properly identified him, he was just a member of the public. So what we're saying here, or what they're saying here, is for the police to go up to a member of the public and just start going through their property without a warrant, that violates their constitutional rights. And as I say in here, Elvis, hello, I didn't see you sneak in here. Thank you for that, Rose. And so, as we say all the time, or as I say all the time, the constitutional rights that you are afforded under the Constitution of the United States, as well as all the state constitutions, those are not negotiable. Those are not negotiable. And as soon as we make them negotiable, it's a very slippery slope to a place where we don't want to live, right? So this MAP hearing, let's see, this is for the Huntley and the MAP hearing. So that MAP hearing has to do with his arrest, and the seizure of the evidence that was taken in Altoona when Luigi was arrested. Okay. But I wanted to read these witnesses off here because I thought they were really, really interesting. Vonnie Ray, welcome in. It's nice to see you. Emily states, Blair County 911. Blair County is the county in where Altoona sits in Pennsylvania. The Blair County 911 coordinator. So what that tells me, let me just tell you as a paralegal, what that tells me is if you're bringing the 911 coordinator in, that means there's going to be some 911 calls played. I want to go to this hearing so bad, you guys. That means they're going to play the 911 call from the McDonald's employee. Imagine if police were allowed to get your stuff freely. Imagine, Luigi, it's nice for you to join us when we're discussing your case, might I say. Just threw me off track there, bud. Let's see. Okay, so if they're calling the coordinator, Jolly Holly, thank you so much. Make me look pretty on here. If they're calling the coordinator, who most likely did not take the call, Christina, thank you for that heart on my head. FBI Little Pack, thank you for that. Oh, Pity Pack, FBI Florida Pity Pack. Thank you for that follow. That's what happens when I read things too fast. So the coordinator, I'm guessing, is not the dispatcher who took the call. So the coordinator would be able to verify that the 911 recording is authentic. And that's what I think she's being brought in for. Again, just a paralegal mind, right? This is all my opinion. Nice to see you, Christina. The name doesn't flow. It's all good. No, it's fine when you know how to read, right? When I actually sit and read. Thank you for that heart on my head, FBI. So that is the first one. Emily States from Blair County 911 coordinator. This one is huge, you guys. This one is kind of huge. The first assistant district attorney, Nicole Smith from Blair County District Attorney's Office. That's a ballsy move. And let me tell you why. Luigi's case in Pennsylvania is not dismissed. It is just on hold because the feds are not allowing him to travel to Pennsylvania, basically to have any type of hearings in that case, right? So the fact that they're calling the ADA, and this is Luigi's attorneys doing this. This is not the government's attorney or the state's attorney in New York. The fact that they're calling the ADA in to testify in a MAP hearing is huge. And that one, I'm going to tell you, I'm not really sure. I am not really sure what they're going to question that person on. Again, I want to be in that courtroom. And then NYPD Sergeant Christopher McLaughlin with DCPI. That's going to be probably an evidence transfer type of thing. Is this lawful not to transfer? Yes, beautifully chosen. Yes, it actually is. In Luigi's case, it is. They're citing security concerns. And so his attorneys didn't really fight it all that much. And I'm not in any way disparaging what his attorneys did or did not do. But basically, he's got 3 cases going, right? And he's got 2 state cases and a federal case. And really, federal case takes the hierarchy, even though he's technically in custody for Pennsylvania, because that's where he was arrested. He was extradited to the federal penitentiary, to federal custody. So federal custody has control of him right now. He's basically a ward of the federal government, and they have the final say as to where he goes. Now, they did give him the option to appear by video, and he would not waive his personal appearance, which I think was strategic. And I have no criticisms of that. But because they wouldn't waive his personal appearance, and because the Fed said we like him right where he is and it's too much of a security risk to move him, that's why they dismissed the case in Pennsylvania and kind of put it on hold. They dismissed the motion. Pardon me. They dismissed the motion in Pennsylvania, put it on hold, and moved everything basically over to the New York State and federal cases. Bella Love Angel, thank you for that follow. DK Art, nice to see you. Thank you for that heart on my head. KR, Karen Reed turned on Turtle Boy. Shula, we were in here a little bit earlier, talking about that. I am not a Turtle Boy fan, so I'm probably not the right person to ask about that. But I'm not so sure that that's exactly what happened. And all I would encourage you to do is get statements from both sides before you make your no, it's fine. It's fine. Before you make your final determination. These aren't exactly the defense witnesses. This is a list KFA said weren't relevant. Gotcha. The district attorney has not responded to counsel's email. Accordingly, we respectfully request this court direct the DA's office to inform the court and counsel whether there are any statements notice no longer intends to be subject of the Huntley hearing. That's for the Huntley hearing. Moreover, to the extent the prosecution intends to pursue statements listed in CPL, notice that do not have corresponding witnesses on the proposed witness list. This court should direct the DA's office to inform the court and counsel how the prosecution intends to admit these statements in the Huntley. In the same email, there are several potential witnesses that did not appear relevant. Thank you. Who just told me that? Ray Ann. Yes, he did, actually. You're indifferent, Shula. I got you. Thank you, Jamie Juror. I appreciate you pointing that out to me. I'm definitely in the middle of my research on that. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you were in here and recentered me. You just saved me a ton of work. So I appreciate you. Rayanne, thank you for that follow. FBI, he does have crimes pending against him in PA. He's got a firearms charge. He's got an identity charge. Nothing nearly as relevant. I don't want to say relevant, but nothing nearly as serious as what's awaiting him in New York in federal case. But he does have, the most serious is that firearms charge in Pennsylvania. But those are still pending. They just are not doing anything in Pennsylvania right now until the federal and New York cases are discharged. It is, and FBI, his most serious charge in PA is the firearms charge. But then, when they asked him to identify himself, he allegedly gave that same ID from New Jersey, that Mark Rosario ID that he gave at the hostel. I appreciate your grace on that, Jamie Juror. Yes, there are a ton of things to follow, and I have been out of the loop for a couple of days. And I swear every time I go out of the loop, the state and federal charges parallel. Yes and no, beautifully chosen. Let me just finish my thought. When I go out of the loop, I feel like everything happens. Like the stuff on Aaron Spencer right now, I'm just furious about, and I have to wrap my head around before. But But when you guys come in here and keep me honest on stuff, I actually really appreciate it. I don't take offense to it. I think we're all in this together. I am not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV. And even though I've worked in the legal field for 30 years, sometimes I pick stuff up and I start reading it where I shouldn't be reading it. And just like Jamie Jur just redirected me, I really appreciate it when you guys do that. Are the state and federal charges parallel? Yes and no. Okay, so in my opinion, what's in Luigi's mind is the biggest question. I hope he opens up about it when it all ends. Well, Luigi, wouldn't you tell us what's in your mind? No. If I were to guess, Luigi's most concerned about that capital punishment that's coming out of Elvis. Thank you for sharing this out. That's coming out of the federal case. So let me just roll back up here. Are the state and federal charges parallel? In my opinion, the reason that the Fed charged him is, one, the involvement of the political movement of this, which Luigi did not start. Let me repeat that. Luigi did not start the political movement on this. Go back and watch that video of the perp watch, which is absolutely disgusting in my opinion, that has him out there as a pawn, as campaign propaganda. I mean, you don't do a perp walk with every politically, hey chat, nice to see you, with every politically elected official in the area just because. Like, he was a total trophy on that day. And he is accused of some heinous crimes, but he's still innocent. As Luigi sits here today, he is cloaked in innocence. He has not been found guilty by a jury of his peers. He has not been found guilty by a beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, when you're arrested, that's probable cause. That is a much lower bar to reach than beyond a reasonable doubt, which is where you get your conviction, which is why you are absolutely innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, or you plead guilty. So I believe the federal charges, to me, were politically motivated by Pam Bondi, who specifically said on a Fox News interview that she ordered the capital punishment on Luigi herself. And since New York State does not have the death penalty, but the federal government does, I believe that's why the federal charges were brought in. Now, if you remember 2 months ago in the state case, they also brought terrorism charges against him. Hey, Lisa, nice to see you. Thank you for that heart on my head. They brought terrorism charges against him that the judge has since thrown out. So that took a lot of bite out of what's pending in the state case, which is now, I think, murder 2 charges. I'd have to go back and look at that. I might be getting that messed up with Aaron Spencer. It's now murder charges. They took away the terrorism enhancement in the state case, the state of New York case. Thank you, Lisa, for that popular vote. In the federal case, though, the capital punishment is still pending. There are motions in the federal case to overturn that. And that is the pleading that the government filed, what was that, last week, with pages and pages and pages of case law and precedent that they are saying is against Luigi. So that is going to trial. Not trial. That hearing will be in January, and that is going to be a very interesting hearing as well. Again, no cameras in federal court as well. So let me catch up here. What is in Luigi's mind is the biggest question. Luigi Nation, I would say that's capital punishment. In my opinion, that's probably what's on his mind the most. FBI, Florida, pity pack. If he gets acquitted, would firearms charge hold up? Meaning, is it a crime to carry in PA? Yes, it is, without the proper licenses and without the proper concealed carry, because it was concealed. So yes, he would still have that charge in PA. Again, least of his worries considering what he's looking at in New York and the Fed. And let me just preface this, you guys. Even if he wins, let's say, even if Luigi wins every single motion that is pending right now, these charges will not go away. He is not going to be discharged. He's not going anywhere. There's still a ton of evidence from before he was arrested that they have that causally connects him allegedly to this. Right? So that's going to be the question of a jury. This has got to go before a jury, in my opinion, for us to find out exactly what happened and exactly how he connects all of this together and whether or not he was alone. I'm just going to throw that out there. All right. But if all these motions go Luigi's way, he's not going to be let out of jail. The cases are not going to be dismissed. They may re-indict him on lower charges, and the capital charges would definitely be hanging in the balance of that. Look, it's if he wins all these cases, all these motions, it's a hit to the prosecution. No lie. It's a hit to the prosecution on what they want and the conviction that they want, but it's not a hit on the actual crime itself. He's still going to be held. So I just want to manage our expectations here, right? But yes, FBI, the firearms charge would absolutely still be valid over in Pennsylvania. The other thing in Pennsylvania, thank you, Shula, for that heart on my head. Jimmers, thank you. Appreciate you getting people to tap the screen because I totally forgot to ask for that. Hey, Amy, nice to see you. 20,000 taps. You guys are amazing. I appreciate every single one of them. Thank you, Jamie Jur. Murder 2. Murder 2 is what he's down to in the state case in New York, right? Is that what we're talking about? I'm just getting caught up here. You can't tell me those shackles on. Oh yeah, I know, Rachel. With like 20 people around him, they really needed to shackle him. I mean, that tells me more about the police than it does about Luigi. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Is it Lisa Conquer Life? You do true crime as well? I'm very happy to meet your acquaintance. Yes, the perp walk was completely political. Yeah, okay, let me just catch up. If I didn't get why not first degree, Denise, because the terrorism charges were thrown out in New York. So that was the enhancement that they had. Shackles are optics. Totally agree. Oh, Crocheting Camper. Hello. Nice to see you. Oh, gosh, we got JJ in here too. Is the trial by jury generally always better on the trial by judge? Not always, Shula. It always depends. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate that heart on my head. In my opinion, it depends on the evidence against you and whether or not a jury would be able to digest it. So the easiest way for me to answer that question is to think about explaining to 12 people you don't know the theory of relativity and whether or not they'd be able to grasp it, to take it into account to rule in your favor, versus explaining that theory to a judge who might have more background on the case and may be able to digest it, read the law applicable to it, and come to a conclusion with you. On something like this, I think a jury trial is always better. That's my opinion, because there's a lot of emotion involved in crimes of a passionate nature, of crimes that are allegedly premeditated, and you know the political backing and the political fare that this has taken on. I don't think I would take this before a judge. Even Judge Caro, who has ruled in Luigi's favor, I don't think I would put it in front of him. For Luigi, definitely not at the federal level. I don't think I would take it in front of the federal judge. Even though they're, I still think I would leave it to a jury, but that's just my opinion. Laura Ryan, we are talking about Luigi Mangione this morning. Will the PA lawyer be there with KFA team or present? I haven't seen his name, user with a bunch of numbers. That's a good question. I haven't seen his name on any of the New York pleadings. And I don't think Thomas Dickey is licensed in New York. I could be wrong on that. And so he would have to file a pro hoc vice motion to get licensed in New York specifically for this case. Very similar to what Alan Jackson did in Massachusetts for Karen Reed. But I haven't seen his name on that. That doesn't mean that he doesn't help behind the scenes with KA and their filings and things like that. I just haven't seen his names. It's just KA and her husband. NYPD are well trained in Israel. Roswell. Roy Ryan, nice to see you. So nice to see you. Let's see. If I didn't answer your question, I did lose a bunch of chat when I went off. I'm sorry. I didn't pay attention to the chat enough. But if I didn't get to your question, just restate it and I'll try to get to it. Got to have someone who thinks he's too cute to go to jail. Denise, look, I'm not going to say, so let me say this. Hang on. I know there are a lot of comments that go around saying, how are they ever going to find 12 people? And really it's 16 because you got to have alternates who have never heard of Luigi Mangione. And look, there are people in here who come in here and are like, who is this person? Like, we don't know who he is. So it's possible to have someone who has never heard of him, but that's not a requirement to become a juror, right? To be a juror, and we can talk about jury selection when we have a little bit more time. But to be a juror on this case, what you have to provide to the, what you have to basically swear to the parties is that even if you know about this case, you have an open enough mind to not make up your mind of guilt or innocence. Elvis, yes, they did. So when he was arrested, the question is, excuse me, Tats, I'm way behind on this case. Did they find a weapon? So when he was arrested, and thank you, whoever is pinning for me, Jimmers, appreciate you. When he was arrested in Pennsylvania, the weapon was in his backpack, along with a 3D printed silencer. So, yeah. Am I a fan of him? Beautifully chosen. That is a great question. I am glad that you asked that, because am I a fan of Luigi Mangione? What he allegedly did? No. Vigilante justice has no place in our society. It is a slippery slope we do not want to go down. What I am a fan of is K.A. I have a little girl crush on K.A. I will admit that. And her husband. I think they are masterfully pleading this case in the pleadings. Now, look, the defense's pleading last week with all that case law and precedent, that was a brick. Like that was a wake up call, I think, to what he is really facing in this case, right? And all of the precedent that they filed. Am I a fan of Luigi? Look, he's a good looking guy. I can't say I'm a fan of his. Do you know what I mean? I know everybody kind of swoons all over him. I'm a fan of his eyebrows. I would kill for those eyebrows. I guess that's a bad way to say it in this case, but that's a good question. I'm very much a fangirl of K.A. Similarly, in Karen Reed's case, not so much a fan of Karen Reed versus a fan of AJ and Alessi. Huge fan of Alessi. Yeah, good question though. Thank you, JJ, for that Starbucks. Jimmers, thank you for sharing this out. I appreciate you. Let's see. Dynamic duo. Yes, absolutely. Imagine that. Imagine being married to somebody like that. Imagine what those breakfast like conversations are. Like I hope I find somebody that like that, just to be my life partner and have those types of conversations at the kitchen table. How long to get a jury? That's a KR reference. I got you, Deba. I got you. Good morning, bells ringer. It's ringing. It's nice to see you. Let's see. Good morning, Sugar Boom Boom. It's nice to see you. You are you pinning for me? Is that what you were saying? You don't think he may have killed the guy for his eyebrows too? That's not what I'm saying at all, Elvis. That's not what I'm saying at all. Alan Jackson, yeah. But what if found innocent? Can you expand on that, beautifully chosen? What if he's found innocent? Oh, would I be a fanboy of his or fangirl of his if he was found innocent? I would still think he's cute and charming, but probably not. I'm also 53 and he's like, what, 27, 28 years old? Like that's, yeah. Yeah. I'll also, again, vigilante violence is not the way that we need to go in this world. Thank you guys for those gifts and that heart on my head. I am obsessed with this case too, Deb. Absolutely. But yeah, I don't think they killed him for his eyebrows. I would be in heaven. Do you think Karen Reed was innocent? Absolutely, 100% Virginia Hobby. I think the evidence points to her innocence completely on that. To be a fly on the wall, right? Hashtag Tinder. You got me, JJ. You got me. You got me on that one, sir. Oh my goodness. Yeah, if I didn't answer your question beautifully chosen, I think I did, but just go ahead and ask it again. Well, yeah, that's true, Jolly Holly. She was found innocent by a jury of her peers, so she is innocent. You're a fan? Yeah, I know you are. You're a wood chipper fan, JJ. That's your type of justice. I get it. Laura Ryan, thank you for that heart on my head. Oh, we got a puzzle piece. Hang on a sec. Work the puzzle. Okay. Have they determined a motive? Elvis, are you talking about Luigi? So Luigi was arrested and had this alleged manifesto, which he didn't have like, it was a red notebook, right? It was just a notebook, but they called it a manifesto in the evidence tag. So now everybody calls it his manifesto. It was basically his handwritten notes. And in those notes, allegedly in those notes is his motive for killing Brian Thompson. Now, Brian Thompson, I want to be really, really specific on this. He did not, in my opinion, target Brian Thompson by name. Okay. He was out for a CEO of the healthcare system. It wasn't Brian Thompson. And there was that, this happened at the time that there was a CEO conference going on in New York, and he was there. He was there because that's where they all were. Does that make sense? So his motive, he had been having he had a failed back surgery. He'd been having insurance difficulties and getting his care taken care of. And that's where his frustration came from. Thank you, D Flipper. I did have a good Thanksgiving, and I hope you did too. A clear personal motive. Yeah, it was from his interactions with his insurance, allegedly his interactions with his insurance company. But his insurance company was not United Healthcare. So I want to make sure you guys understand, like, Brian Thompson was not named. Like, it wasn't like, number one, Brian Thompson. Like, he didn't have a kill list or anything like that. It was just his experience with the healthcare system, allegedly. This is all alleged. And the fact that there was a CEO conference going on in Manhattan that day. Hooked on a Feeling. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Marianne Schooling, thank you for that follow. What do you think the outcome of these hearings would be with my experience? Luigi Nation, wow. With Judge Caro, it's really hard to judge. No pun intended. I think they have a strong case for the backpack being thrown out. Definitely the computer chip that was found within the backpack. I think there's a strong case there, but I also think there's a lot of precedent that does not go Luigi's way on that. I like their strategic tactic of taking this to the state, having this hearing, and then also filing it in federal court, and kind of like, this is kind of like the precursor to it, so they know what they need to look at and what the arguments could be. So I think in that way, they're very strategic in having two hearings instead of one. But with Judge Caro, I thought Judge Caro's interpretation of the of terminating the terrorism charges was really, really liberal. And so I was kind of surprised at that. So I think we could go, let me put it this way. I don't think they're going to get everything they're asking for. I don't think Luigi's going to get everything they're asking for, but I'd be surprised if at least something wasn't thrown out. It just remains to see which one it is. The statements, the evidence, or the arrest. The arrest, I don't think is going to get thrown out, in my opinion. But the statements or the evidence, we'll see which one. I didn't know United wasn't his insurance. No, he was not insured by actually, he was insured by Aetna. Do you guys remember the whole big Aetna subpoena scandal where the prosecutor just went to Aetna and said, we need these records, and never told Luigi's attorneys that they were doing it, never told the judge that they were doing it. And, Aetna turns over 120 pages of HIPAA protected information. And then the DA says, hey, we're going to use this. And Luigi's attorneys are like, where the hell did you get this? Like, and they say it has nothing to do with this case. But yeah, apparently he was insured by Aetna, of all things. What if a juror developed bias by possibly agreeing to a motive? Elvis, that would be, look, in jury selection in this, it's going to be voir dire. It's going to be very extensive voir dire. Have you ever been slighted by insurance company? Do you have any gripes with insurance? Denise, thank you so much for those goggles. Appreciate you. Do they, it's going to be a very extensive voir dire. Have you ever filed a claim Vonnie, thank you so much. That's beautiful. Have you ever filed a claim that was not granted by your insurance company? Was there an appeals process? It's going to be a very extensive voir dire. And then after all of that is answered, the question is going to be, can you still be open-minded enough to find, to listen to the evidence and make your decision only on the evidence? Good question, though. Good question, Elvis. Yeah, Jelly Holly, Aetna was his insurance carrier, apparently. Marilyn, thank you for that heart on my head. Hard to get not guilty from the, I totally agree. Totally agree. This is crazy getting someone's medical history without their permission. Yeah, that was one of the first arguments. And honestly, I didn't see that it was ever resolved, Luigi. It's so weird talking to Luigi in Luigi chat. Luigi, I hope you come back. I really appreciate your time and knowledge to keep all of it. Oh, thank you, Bonnie Ray. I appreciate you. This is my passion. This is, why I became a paralegal. My dad would argue with me or argue with you that I should have been an attorney, but that's for me and him to argue about. I'm happy with what I do. I like the investigative part of the cases. What's your opinion on the weapon potentially being planted by the arresting officers? Bree, I think there's ballistics that would prove that it was the alleged weapon. Remember that at the scene, first of all, Brian Thompson was shot twice and the gun allegedly jammed. So we've got the things that the bullets are in. So, casings. We've got casings with delay, deny, depose written on them. So there would be ballistics testing to test the gun versus the actual weapon. Of course, we haven't seen any of that because there's gag order in this case. But I would say I would reserve my thought until I saw those ballistics, right? Always trust but verify, right? But good question. Excellent question. How is HIPAA protected info legal? Would that be allowed as evidence? There would definitely be a motion to exclude that holly jolly as a violation of HIPAA. Let's see. An episode of Suits did that. Sorry, Bengal. I'm behind. Did what? Very good question. Yeah. Not sure they would either. Just something I've seen online. Was curious. Oh, you're answering, Denise. Okay. Did they say what brand of, actually, JJ, he 3D printed it, allegedly. So I don't know what brand that would make it. and along with the silencer, which was also found allegedly when he was arrested. So was there anything in his medical records? Mark A, of course, I haven't seen them, but according to his attorneys and in their filings, there was nothing usable nothing that they found usable. Again, my opinion as a paralegal, so when I do subpoenas, which are kind of like a paralegal's bread and butter, right? I do subpoenas, I wouldn't say every day, but definitely every week I send at least one subpoena. What I'm looking for in my cases is kind of, my attorney likes to do what they call scorched earth. Basically, if you have a provider in your medical records that is mentioned, I'm going to send a subpoena to them. And that is to determine if there's pre-existing conditions. Perhaps it was his mental health, or perhaps it was something affecting the motive. I'm not sure. But according to his attorneys in their filings, there's nothing in there usable. So why they went on a search for his insurance record, that's exactly what they're calling it, JJ, a ghost gun. Why they went on a search of his medical records, I don't know what the motive was there, honestly. I hear you say allegedly. I understand why. Would you get into trouble if you didn't say alleged? So FBI, given that I work in the legal system, I tend to err on the side of caution. And also the fact that I'm not a lawyer, I'm very particular on what I say, because even though I have a master's degree, I still can't give legal advice. And I will say this to that question, which is a very good question. When I'm talking to my family, when they bring me a problem that they have that's legal, I even say to them, this is my opinion. This is not legal advice. I'm always covering my ass. When I am teaching my classes at the university, I will tell them a lot of times, this is not legal advice. This is just my opinion. You never give legal advice as a paralegal, because the people I'm teaching are not going to be lawyers. They're going to be paralegals. And some of them actually go into law enforcement, things like that. So none of them, unless they have JD behind their name, I always tell them, do not give out legal advice. I always say it's your opinion. That said, I will also give validation for my opinion. I have a degree in criminology. I worked for 10 years in the criminal justice system with a criminal justice attorney or criminal defense attorney. I have a degree or a master's degree, and I teach law. Like, I give validation to my opinion. But yeah, my use of allegedly is to respect the fact that Luigi is not convicted and he is innocent till proven guilty. And my reason for telling you it's my opinion and not legal advice is to save my own ass, because I can get in serious trouble if I start handing out legal advice. But good question. And I love my job. I would not do anything to anything to harm my career. I love my career. Was there anything in his medical record? I think we covered that. It's called a ghost gun. Yeah, we covered that. Got evidence or info before the judge is allowed or other team knew. Yeah, Bengal. So if you're talking about the subpoena to Aetna to get his insurance records, yeah, they didn't give notice to Luigi to file an objection. And in lieu of that, not giving them notice, they had two things they could do. They could go to the judge ex parte, which means without Luigi knowing, which is totally legal, and say, we want to get these records and we want to keep them from the defense because we're using them for rebuttal, for impeachment, for, a reason that we don't have to turn over. Or they could give notice to Luigi and give him the right to object within, I think federally it's 20 days. Actually federally there's no stated time frame. You just give them a reasonable bout of time to object. In Pennsylvania, it's 20 days to object to a subpoena before I can validly serve it. So yeah, they didn't follow those rules. I hear you say, oh, sorry. Yeah, same for me in the medical field. I'm not a doctor, right? My mom was a nurse, Rachel. She does that all the time. Okay, that makes sense. Just curious, but get the whole innocent till proven. Yeah, I am a big proponent on that, FBI, as I support this Constitution, number one. I'm a huge constitutionalist. I'm a huge fan of the constitutional rights that we are all afforded, and you'll hear me say that time and time again, that they are not negotiable, and that it doesn't matter what you're charged with, you still have the same constitutional rights. So you get a DUI, you have the same constitutional rights as Luigi Mangione sitting in federal prison right now. And to say that his rights aren't as important as the person who's charged with DV or DUI is a huge disservice to the Constitution and not of the intent of our original document. I imagine it's good protocol for you developed a habit. Yep, exactly, Elvis. It is a habit. And I know it gets annoying to you guys. Like, yes, we know it's your opinion. Yes, we know it's allegedly, but they are grasping for straws. They went looking for his medical records. Mangione has a great, he's got amazing attorneys, Luigi. Amazing attorney. Walker County, Alabama jail, too many deaths. Jennifer, thank you. First of all, for that comment. If you go to the link in my bio, there's a tab on there that says submit a question or a case to Tats. If you wouldn't mind sending that to me, that'll put it on my spreadsheet and I can take a look at that. Maura Pate, thank you for that follow. Thank you, Jimmers. I appreciate all the work you put in here today. Let's see. Rachel, no picking on anyone. You know what happens when you pick on someone. If you guys don't know, Rachel and I had a little on-screen tiff that we mention all the time. The fact that you come back here all the time, Rachel, I just love you. I love you forever. Yep. Susan, thank you for that follow. Okay, you guys, I am going to jump off here and finish my research. Tonight I'm going to get on from the other computer so that we can share pictures. I love you, girl. I missed you too. I'm glad. It's nice to be missed, but I missed you guys. Just so you know, I think about you guys all the time. Like when I'm out and about doing content and stuff, I'm always like, it's good to see you too, Elvis. I love it when my football buddies come in here. Aleutian girl, thank you so much for being here. Tanya, hello. Nice to see you. So tonight I'm going to go live from the computer so we can share what's going on, like pictures and the actual documents and stuff. You guys bring all of your Luigi questions tonight, all of your autocorrect almost got me in big trouble. I don't even want to know. Teach us. Yeah, exactly. Nice to meet you, FBI. I hope you'll come back soon. But we'll look at the actual documents. So bring your Luigi questions and your Karen Reed questions tonight. So sometime between now and then, I will try to get some Karen Reed content out and talk about the removal to federal court and what that means. It was nice to meet you too, FBI. Thank you guys for being here. Miss Kathy, thank you for that follow. Be good to yourselves, be good to those around you, and make good choices. I'll see you later on tonight.